call
Once
the
election results.
the Town of Lakeview Planning Commission back into session.
Oh, yeah, that's my house.
Very well. I'd like to call this meeting to order. May 17th, 2016, just after 8 o'clock in the evening, is the continuation of a legislative hearing regarding a comprehensive plan amendment, urban growth boundary adjustment, application number 15-043-CPA-UGB. The applicant is Red Rock Biofuels. After a number of continuations, on May 10th was the deadline that we gave both parties to respond to each other's submissions. We've received several pounds, thank you very much, of written submissions. Those are now part of the record. The continuation, a date earlier than that, was so that both planning commissions, the Lakeview Planning Commission and the County Planning Commission, could consult with council as to whether this should be a legislative or a quasi-judicial hearing. From what I am informed, the county has an opinion, has received an opinion from legal counsel, but the City of Lakeview is not ready to proceed as far as the advice that they've received or not received from their legal counsel. That being said, if anyone has any further submissions, would you please stand up and be sworn in?
Anybody plan on speaking today? Jeff, you got anything you want to speak today, or Craig, or anybody? Nobody? Okay. Anybody else in the audience? I'll be out here pretty early.
You want to speak?
Yeah, go ahead if you like. You guys are good.
I'm Scott Eagle with the Department of Land Conservation and Development. John Jennings and Lauren Kovacs don't have anything to say, just wanted to make sure you were here and available for any questions you might have.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to testify in this matter? Darwin, were they after the May the 10th deadline, were all these submissions part of the record now?
Yep. The only two additions that we got were emails with attachments from Red Rock Biofuels as applicants. No other opposition came in. And what they submitted was a rebuttal essentially to what had been presented as opposition by John Williams and his group, the Craig Law Firm.
It is my understanding in the procedure of things that the Lake County Planning Commission awaits the Lakeview Planning Commission to proceed, and once you proceed, when you do, we will act accordingly on whatever you've decided. So I'd like to turn the meeting over to the chairman of the Lakeview Planning Commission for whatever you would like to say.
Well, as you stated before, we're waiting on an opinion from our legal counsel. It's my understanding that we're supposed to have that opinion no later than June 21st. Is that?
I didn't swear in, but. if I
No,
may.
you're fine. I understand. You've been
Mr.
sworn in
Bogardus
before.
is out of town for 2 days starting 2 weeks starting last Friday. And so we would expect an opinion from him sometime within a few days of his return. I had talked about the 21st, I was just looking at that as being the next county planning commission date. And that it might be a reasonable date to expect that we would have a decision from, or an opinion from him before then, and then you could meet jointly again to deliberate, understanding that the town would take the action first, and possibly then at that time followed by the county. That was the 21st date, Dan.
Okay. So, that's my understanding of where we sit, so I guess I would look for a motion about now.
I do have some questions
Oh,
of the applicants.
okay. Go, I'm sorry, Janine.
Nope, that's all right.
And I would suggest that we enter into our record as well, the two responses that the county chairman referred to as well.
Okay. So
I'm ready.
we'll enter those two responses into our record. Go ahead.
Okay. To either of you, thank you for all the reading material last night. One of the, I'm looking for just some additional factual information that will help us understand the proposal. And so going back to the mandatory site requirements that were listed in the application, neighborhood compatibility, we talk about allowing traffic to bypass neighborhood centers in the downtown core area, but I didn't find that haul routes were actually identified. So do you have proposed haul routes for the material to get to the site on the south end of town, eliminating having to go to the downtown core area?
If I may, Jeff Manternack from Red Rock Biofuels. We have not yet identified specific haul routes for the material. It can come in from a 360-degree radius, so it could be coming from the south, it could be coming from the north, could come out from the west, or even some potentially from the east. Some of that traffic may pass through downtown on the highway, recognizing that highway does come through downtown. And I suspect that there's already some truck traffic that I've seen out there. And I imagine that some of the feedstock coming in would come through downtown, but we're certainly open to discussing with the town and county preferred routes and making reasonable accommodations.
Thank you.
Mr. Stone, anything to add?
So you also talked about the importance of the work schedule timeline, and again, there wasn't any information on important timelines or deadlines that you need to meet
Sure.
under your award.
Thank you for the question. Pulling off of a large size project like this, we've done it in the past. There are dozens of, I guess, high-level items that we are coordinating to pull the project off. Broad areas include permitting and engineering and finance and operational staff. This is one of the permitting items, on our front burner these days, and other elements of the project are looking at it to conclude. So there's a number of these open items that we're actively seeking to wrap up, and this is one of them. There's, that said, there's no drop dead date. If we don't have it complete by June the 22nd, that doesn't spell disaster for the project. We're actively looking, I think, to wrap this up in an expedient manner, but hopefully to answer your question, there's no specific deadline tied to this particular process. It's just moving with expediency.
Thank you.
Of course.
And just the third one, if you
Sure.
could. The natural gas pipeline. I'm just curious, do you have an estimate of the construction cost per mile? I thought I read it once, but I didn't find it again.
Yeah, so we're still finalizing some of that, and there's a number of different elements involved in constructing that pipeline. It includes what they call a tap and measurement on the larger Ruby pipe itself that runs around Crane Creek Road there. And then it involves dropping digging a trench and dropping a pipe into the trench. So we're still working on finalizing some of those, but it's certainly a, probably each one of those elements is 7 figures or better. You're into the almost $1 million territory for a tap, and you're north of that for the running the pipeline and the receiving end facilities. It's a high pressure 6-inch steel line, and under agreement with the county, we're sharing 1/3 of that capacity along the lateral for other uses as the county may determine.
So the 7-figure is the total cost of each of those elements?
At a minimum,
At
yeah,
a
each one,
minimum.
so it's, each one is north of $1 million somewhere. Yeah, still putting the finishing touches on those.
Okay.
I may have missed, I did miss the last meeting, but all the easements and everything for the pipeline, all of that is set in place.
Those are not quite set in place yet. The lateral easement is not set by agreement, again, with the county, which owns the dirt along Lake Railway, of course, and the track. The plan is to drop that lateral somewhere toward the outside of that that real property that runs the length of the track there.
So my additional questions relate to CSA's response, if I could.
Please.
On page 1, Mr. Stone, you talked to, and actually DLCD might be able to answer this too, the issue about substantially equivalent. And there's a discussion that, actually, Craig Law Center brought up the fact that there were two cases before DLCD, and that they were actually exact same acreage figures. So
The Smith case that was cited?
yes. So my question, my question to you was, so in the discussion before us as substantially equivalent, is this kind of new ground to cover tonight?
No.
I mean, and I realize that it's a small amount, but I just wondered if there were examples that we hadn't heard about that were similar.
Okay. Your question then deals with the 3-acre difference between the inclusion and the exclusion lands. I think the best way I can reply is it is a test of substantial equivalence, not the exact equivalence. And secondly, the law provides that urban growth boundaries don't have to be unreasonably precise. Our legal counsel believes that this is within that framework of substantial equivalence, while avoiding the necessity of being unreasonably precise.
And so the question was, has that been tested in any other action taken by another municipality?
To determine whether 3 acres out of 100 and...
Yep.
No.
Okay.
At least not in those exact terms.
For the first time, and this was probably my fault, on the exclusion zone, there ends up being a small parcel that's cut out of the east proposed boundary.
On
And-
Highway 395.
On Highway 395.
Yes.
I'm just not familiar with that piece. Is there a reason for that being excluded from the exclusion?
We didn't have the consent of that person. It wasn't absolutely necessary, and we didn't propose to have it taken in.
Okay.
Given our belief that this is a legislative enactment, the town and the county would be entitled to include that if that was your final determination.
And then I think the last question is, and if you could help educate me, your attorney's rebuttal, hold on a second. gonna have to refresh my memory. On page 4, we got into findings related to the statewide planning goal.
Yes.
And the response was referring back to the Perkins Cole response. And I guess I didn't see
And they
that
didn't
actually
include
addressed it. So
that.
I would hope that maybe you might address that.
And we did. We provided some substantial additional evidence with respect to State Goal 14
Right.
that was included in
The
the
packet.
submittal that we tendered on the 10th. And it addresses Goal 14 in fairly comprehensive terms. It's fair to say that the various factors in the goal, in that goal, should not be considered independently in each in a vacuum. They require a balancing. And as we analyze Goal 14, we've sought to balance the various factors that together play into how this decision has to be made.
Thank you.
Any further questions for us?
Any other questions from the town planning commission? Okay, so I will entertain a motion right now.
Mr. Chairman, I think it would be prudent for the discussion that we've had, that the town management has, for us to close the public hearing at this time and continue deliberation toward a decision on this matter on June the 21st. That, I think, fits in with the Lake County Planning Commission. For us to receive guidance from the town attorney regarding the procedural question of legislature versus quasi-judicial process.
Do I have a second to that motion? I'll second. All in favor? All opposed? Motion's passed.
Bob, did I hear you say exactly what time on the 21st?
You didn't, but I could say 7 p.m.
7 is perfect. We do have, our normal meeting starts at 6, and we do have a couple items before.
I wonder if I could have a motion from the County Planning Commission to put this into continuation mode for June 21st at 7 p.m.
So moved.
Seconded. Call the roll, Don.
John?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Justin?
Yes.
Meredith?
Aye.
Sheila?
Yes.
Wes?
Yes.
Motion passes.
I'd like to entertain a motion from the county commission to close this meeting.
So moved.
Okay. Over to you, sir.
I'll go ahead and close the, do I need a motion? Close it.
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion closed, passed.